Hi, okay, welcome to this quick how to help video on sharing and the harder, more than, less than style ratio questions. So it's part 2 of the series of videos that I'm doing on ratio. You can see the 4 different types of questions that the video will address, and we will do those in order. So let's get started. So the first 2 are actually pretty much identical. This is just a skills style question, just seeing if you've got the skill and the knowledge to complete that. This one is giving it some context. It's just talking about Poppy and Max sharing the money rather than it just being general question. And you'll see how the 2 are solved in exactly the same way. So really, this is here just to say, don't let these sort of wordy questions put you off. If you've got the skill, you can apply it. All right. Now, I'm going to be doing something called invisible column. Invisible column is something that I've had a lot of success with a huge number of students. It may be new to you if you are not someone that's taught by me, and bear with it. It's absolutely brilliant. It just organizes the numbers in a really clear, easy way. Okay, so let's go to this problem first of all. So we've got to share £320 in the ratio 5:3. So I've got the ratio 5:3. The 320 doesn't belong in either of these columns. So that's my trigger for creating this invisible column. 320 is a total amount of money that I have to share into that ratio. So the way that we approach this is we, first of all, get our invisible column labeled up total, and then we think about the ratio itself. If I was to have 5 and then 3 together in total, I would have 8. So my total for the ratio is 8, but my total in the question is 320. And it's this here that helps me find the connection. Remember, if you watch the first video on ratio, it's all about balance. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. With this type of question, you've got to set it up so that you can see what's happening on a side. And the invisible column gives us that. I can see that I need to go from 8 to 320. If I just ignore the 0 and think about 8 getting to 32, I know that I would need to times by 4. So this is times by 40. And if that's what I'm doing on that side of my ratio, it's what I must be doing on this side. So I multiply everything by 40, which will give me this. I can do a quick check because this total should be here, and it is. 200 plus 120 is 320. So I know I've done everything right. And that's it. It's done. I have shared 320 into the ratio of 5 and 3, 200 to 120. With this type of question, I'm not actually going to do anything different as far as the maths goes. I am going to add a little bit of labeling that wasn't there in the original, just because I have some that I can attach to the question itself. So Poppy and Max share their £320 in the ratio of 5:3. And this is important. Poppy came first, so she gets the number 5, the first number, and Max came second, so he gets the second number. And writing it like this, away from the words into a much more mathematical representation of the sentence, makes it really super clear to see. I then carry on as normal. I've got a total of 320 in the story. My total is 8 on the ratio, exactly the same because I've used the exact same numbers. So you would show all of this because we want our examiner to see everything that gets us to the answer. And then you just read through what it is they want. How much does Max get? So I'm going to Max's column. He gets 120. So 120 would go on the dotted line as my final answer. So there's not any additional knowledge going into this, but you are making sure you're getting that labeling in so that if the last part of the question wants to pinpoint a specific, like in this case, it was Max, we know that we are going to be getting the information for Max as our final answer. Okay, so these questions have always been quite common. These questions are reasonably new. They were introduced in the new GCSE, and they did throw a bit of a curveball when we first saw them. Now, the invisible column works an absolute treat here. So we're going to trust in this method and see how it works. So we've got Poppy and Max sharing some money. I don't have a total anymore. They're not telling me what they've got. So there is no total column because there isn't that information in the question. So that's the first thing to know. It's a ratio that I can line up. So I've got Poppy and Max, and they're sharing 8-3. Poppy gets £45 more than. Now, this is absolutely key. If it had said Poppy gets 45, then I would be putting 45 in Poppy's column. But I'm not putting 45 here because that isn't what she actually gets. She gets £45 more than Max. So what we're going to be doing here is creating a more than column. So instead of it being total here, it's going to be more, or you can write the whole thing more than. The process at this point is exactly the same. I'm going to look at the ratios and think about these as a more than, not as a total, but as a more than. How much more does Poppy get in the ratio? She gets 5. It's a difference of 5. So she gets 5 more in the ratio. In the question, we're being told it's 45. And now I've got those two pieces of information that's going to help me make that connection. What do I times 5 by to make 45? It is 9. So I'm going to do the same on this side. So times by 9, and you've got 72 and 27. So I now know that Poppy gets 72. I know that Max gets 27. Always reread the last part of the question to make sure that you're answering exactly what it is they want. They want how much do they share? So I've not finished yet. How much do they share means all of this together. So they share 72 plus 27, which is £99. Okay. So they can word it with a more than language, or they can word it with the less than language. It's exactly the same. Do not feel just because this language here is different, it's going to have some major impact on the process that we're doing. So we've got Poppy and Max, 8-3. Max gets 25 less. He doesn't get 25. He gets 25 less. So that tells me it's a less than column. And then again, just think, how much less? How much less does he actually get? He gets 5 less. Poppy gets 5 more. Max gets 5 less. These questions are always the difference in the ratio. So a total question is add those ratios. A more than or a less than, it's the difference, is take those ratios. We'll finish this off because it's slightly different. We've got 25 going in from the question itself. I would be timesing by 5. So I'm going to times by 5. 8 5s are 40, 5 3s are 15. And then read that last part. What do they want me to answer? It's how much does Poppy have? So I go to Poppy's column and she has 40. Okay. So it is a slightly different approach to one that you may have seen. I hope that you really like it. It works an absolute treat. It's one of those methods that it doesn't matter what the question is, it's going to work. It's not going to break down. All right. Thank you for watching this Target Maths video. I hope you have found it useful and that you continue to subscribe and see all the other videos that get posted on a regular basis.